Philadelphia Phillies are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Pressbox Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, December 27th, 2023. Early Happy New Year as we head into the weekend. Welcome to Philly Pressbox Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA. Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. Cavs, Philly Tailgates, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the Eagles are back in the win column, beating the Giants to reach 11-4. The Sixers lost in Miami Christmas night. There's certainly plenty to talk about there. The Flyers are on a 5-day break, but follow that up with 4 games before we're back together again next Wednesday. It's College Bowl week, and what a mess that is. As always, plenty to talk about in Philly sports.
Bill, how many weeks are there in a year?
As far as I know, 52.
Yeah, and we have done exactly 52 shows this year. I think we did 50 on Wednesday nights, a couple on Tuesdays, but yeah, 52 shows in 52 weeks, bringing our grand total to 475 over our 9.5 years of doing this. I just thought I'd bring that up right at the top of the show.
I was going to say that also. Happy 475th. That's a milestone, right? Every 25's got to be a milestone. The way I look at it.
Something like that. Yeah, we're counting down to 500, and we'll have to have a big party next year in the spring.
That's right. And hey, I have to add in, last week you guys got on to me because I was in the closet in Delaware. Well, today I'm in the spare bedroom in Indianapolis. So the Philly Pressbox radio office is moving around for sure.
They kick you out of everywhere you go, in other words.
Pretty much. Well, hey, we have a great guest tonight making his end-of-the-year return visit to Philly Pressbox Radio in Frank Fitzpatrick to talk Philly sports, the whole landscape of 2023. And maybe where we're going in 2024.
Yeah, show number 475 is indeed with Frank. It is his 12th visit overall, most of them right about this time of year. But we have snagged him a few other times as well. And he always gives us some good insight and some fun stories about the Philly sports scene.
Well, let's get to it. Let's welcome Frank Fitzpatrick back to Philly Pressbox Radio. Frank, welcome.
Hey, guys. How are you? Merry Christmas.
Same to you, Frank.
Frank, welcome back. Hope you're enjoying the holidays and that the Eagles didn't do any damage to either your heart or your mental state over these last few weeks. Let's start there. The Eagles are 11-4, and they may well wind up with the 2nd or 3rd seed in the NFC, but they're just not instilling a whole lot of confidence in any of us this year, unlike a season ago. I know there are several reasons, but what do you see as the main reasons for them just not being the same this year?
Well, first of all, caveat, I'm retired now, so I no longer absorb the game in quite the thorough fashion that I always did.
Gotcha.
But just watching them from afar, I mean, to me, the number one thing, and I've been saying this all year, and I know I'm hardly alone in suggesting this, but it looks to me like Hurts is hobbled in some way. I mean, he just doesn't seem to have the escapability and that quick burst that he had throughout last season, that when that run pass option was such an unstoppable weapon for the Eagles. It just seems to me now I don't know if I've heard it suggested that, once he signed this mega contract that they wanted to ensure his long-term health, and they encouraged him to maybe, take fewer risks and to go down a little quicker. But to me, that's the big difference. And I know there are a lot of differences, but to me, that's the big difference. Then you look at the two lines. There's an awful lot of pressure on him for when they have an offensive line as purportedly as good as Eagles. I'm seeing an awful lot of pressure on Hurts. It seems like on virtually every play, and the defensive line, which has been ballyhooed as one of the best in football, and played that way last year and for a good portion of this year, seems to have, I don't know if they're tired or teams are onto them or what, but I was looking at the stats, and I think the Eagles are like right in the middle of the pack in terms of sacks this year. I think they're like 15th. Josh Sweat is probably the only guy getting consistent pressure. Maybe Brendan Graham when he's in there, but that's kind of sparingly. Josh Sweat is to me, has sort of disappeared the second half of the season.
Reddick's the guy getting the good pressure.
Reddick, I'm sorry. Yeah, Hassan Reddick, yeah. Sweat has sort of disappeared the second half of the season. Yeah. Without that pass rush, their secondary and their linebackers are vulnerable enough that we've seen how that's worked out. They're just giving up, a lot of offense. Although they did look a little better against the Giants, but again, that was the Giants. So, those are just a few quick and easy observations, hardly original ones, but I think they're the things that really jump out at me.
Well, Frank, we had Fred Barnett on with us last week, Arkansas Fred, and he pointed out something that I really took notice to this week because he mentioned it last week. Jalen Hurts mechanics, specifically in that bubble screen pass that never works, how his arm is so long and taking so long to get rid of the ball. And, man, I watched it this week, and Fred's right on the money with that, and it's led to a lot of bad plays and a lot of turnovers, I believe.
Yeah. He seems to be – he just doesn't seem to be as confident. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's, a couple of bad games and you lose a little bit of confidence, but he just doesn't seem to be picking out the open guys as well as he did last year. And as you mentioned, the screenplay passes are a disaster. The Eagles were always kind of, known around the league as really being a good screen team, certainly when Andy Reid was here. But, in the last couple of years, they really have – it seems like they can't stop it and they can't run it.
Right.
So,
yeah. You mentioned the turnovers. The Eagles are a -7 in terms of the turnover ratio. And despite being 11-4, they've scored just 26 more points total than their opponents. That averages out to 1.7 points more per game. And that means, a lot of close wins and a couple of blowout losses recently. That doesn't seem to concern my radio partner, Bill. He says, the W is all that matters, but it's a big concern for me. How about you?
Yeah, well, it is a concern. That is one of the things they did so well last year. I hate to keep harking back to last year, but, it's pretty clear that they're not, for whatever reason, they're not the same team they were last year. And I think, when you look at it, in some ways, for as bad as they look, they're 11-4.
Right.
But when you think about this Eagles season, they replaced two coordinators. They've got what arguably is the toughest schedule in the league. There's something wrong with Hurts. I don't know what it is, but the fact that they are 11-4 is amazing. But they're not instilling confidence in anyone.
Yep.
When you look at them, they're creating more questions than they are answers. So I don't know. You hear a lot of people saying this week that if they don't see them competing with really good teams. Now, that's not something you heard a month ago, but those three performances in the losses in the game against the Giants, were enough to take them down several pegs, and I think everybody's estimation.
Yeah, and Frank, I think my reasoning there that I'm not all that awful concerned is because I feel like in the NFL, every week's a new week. Look at Dallas 2 weeks ago. They looked like they were going to the Super Bowl, and then they got their butts kicked twice in a row. Same thing happened to the Eagles. I think we all thought when this 6-game schedule came up before the Giants, 4-2, we would be happy. Well, they weren't going to win all 6 of them. Well, then they lost 2, but the way they lost them has everybody wanting to jump off the bridge. I'm not jumping off the bridge. I just think they moved the ball up and down the field against Seattle. They moved it up and down the field against the Giants, but they're beating themselves, and they did the same thing against Dallas with the 3.
So why are they going to turn it around suddenly, Bill?
Well, you practice that, Chet. That's something that happens out there, believe it or not.
Okay.
But you mentioned that attitude, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like the shift, the 180 in attitude between when they were 10-1 and they were 10-4. It was like this is a world. These guys are world beaters, and suddenly 3 weeks later, like you said, people are jumping off bridges, and in some ways, it shows you the level of devotion there is to the Eagles in this town. How important they are to the psyche and mental well-being of Philadelphians everywhere. I think now that I'm as you mentioned, a fan, I think I could appreciate that a little better than maybe I could while I was working.
Bill, before we let Frank go at the end of our discussion, we'll get his outlook on what to expect for the Eagles. But I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about some of the other things that happened on the Philly sports scene over this past year. One thing was the Phillies. They went to the World Series last year, didn't quite get there this year. But one thing that a lot of people remember about this season was the Trey Turner standing ovation, August 4th, certainly turned his season around. He was just tremendous pretty much from that point on, although, had a little bit of a setback in the World Series or the NLCS anyway. But what did you make of that? What happened at the ballpark that night in early August?
Well, I mean, it's for someone who's been in Philadelphia all his life, it certainly was uncharacteristic, wasn't it? I mean, I never expected to see that kind of thing here. We sort of, I mean, for as much as we dislike people to point it out sometimes, I think we sort of take some pride in our kind of negativity, our ability to not accept anything less than a great performance. And I think that Trey Turner moment was like, I think it's a defining moment. I think the way people still talk about the snowball game and the booing Santa Claus and that kind of thing. I think this will be, and it has been. If you paid attention to the postseason, I don't think there was a game that went by when somebody didn't bring up the Trey Turner moment. And I think you even heard it in the context of the Eagles this week. People were saying, well, maybe they need a standing ovation at the beginning of the game to kind of turn them around. And I'm not quite sure it would work with a team and a football team, but who knows? But it was an astounding moment. I never expected to live long enough to see anything like that in what so many people call Negadelphia.
Well, hey, Frank, as far as the Phillies, they're we have a long-term deal with Harper, a long-term deal with Turner, some others. All the chips have to come in, I think. Don't you think? They've got to find another pitcher. They've got to shore up that bullpen a little bit more yet. They can't back off at this point. They got to keep throwing money at this thing. Yeah,
I think they need outfield help too. I mean, especially moving Harper to first base. Castellanos has been so inconsistent. Marsh is he's a nice player. He's improving, but he's not going to provide you with the kind of power numbers you expect from a corner outfielder. And Rojas, who knows? I mean, he doesn't show any indications of being a good offensive player. Certainly a great defensive player, but. So I have concerns about them. And in addition to what you mentioned, the bullpen and maybe the defense a little, and the bench for sure. I thought the bench was a weakness throughout last year. I'd like to see another outfielder at it. But you know what? These last two Octobers have been more fun than I can ever remember. I think in Phillies baseball, it's been terrific. Beating the Braves and especially beating the Braves, I think was.
Hey, one of you guys mentioned money. What do you think about the Dodgers spending gazillion dollars on a couple of players in the last month?
I don't understand it. $1 billion on two players, one of whom is, never pitched in the big leagues. I mean, he may turn out to be great, but there have been other guys from Japan that look great on paper and didn't make the transition.
And the other one
got to be just a DH.
Yeah, the other one has Tommy John.
He's just going to be a DH next year. That's a crazy amount of money.
That is a crazy amount of money. And then, you look at and then they've got Betts, and Freeman. They got them locked up pretty well. But I don't understand where all this money comes from, to be honest with you.
Yeah, kind of crazy. Hey, let's jump over to the Sixers, Frank. New coach, playing a little bit better, I think, coming out of the opening of the season. A little bit more than we probably all thought about with the roster changes they had made. Didn't really look favorable, I didn't think, but so far Nick Nurse doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, it's kind of addition by subtraction. I think Harden may have had a negative influence on the team. More than we know. Certainly in the way they played, it never looked like a smooth style of offense when he was out there on the court. I mean, everything just sort of ran through him, and it was painful to watch. I thought sometimes, but. And then Embiid and Maxey, man, this is a great little 1-2 punch, inside, outside. Although Embiid is probably more outside than he is inside. But yeah, I really like, and I like some of the bench players they acquired. Marcus Morris, And they
Well,
Kelly, how do you pronounce that? Kelly Oubre?
Kelly Oubre.
Yeah.
You mentioned Joel Embiid. My radio partner is not a huge fan of Embiid. He likes the fact that he can score, but he doesn't like the fact that he occasionally has to sit out games for load management. And right now he's going to miss his second straight game with a sprained ankle. I don't know. Bill doesn't seem to be buying that or whatever. What is your take, Frank, on Joel Embiid overall?
Well, he's been playing so well that if he is, I'd rather see him sit out 2 games now and be healthier at the end of the season. If it turns out that he indeed is ailing, and according to Nick Nurse, he is. So I have no reason to doubt otherwise, unless you believe Howard Eskin, and Howard seems to have a little vendetta against Mr. Embiid and some of the Sixers.
Yes, he does.
Hey, Frank, here's my deal with Embiid. And I said this a 3 years ago. I've doubled down on it today. All right. The player is fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. The fact everybody hates playing on Christmas, right? If you're away from your family or whatever, he comes up hurt. Go with your team. Be a leader. Be part of what you're supposed to be. Don't sit home while your team goes away on Christmas.
Yeah, I agree.
That's my problem with him.
I mean, I agree with it to an extent, Bill, and that's the way sports were played for 100 years. But especially in the NBA today, that's just not how it works. I mean, it's the players' league. The star players call the shots, run the show.
You're not helping me, Frank. I can't buy that.
Frank, I have to occasionally remind Bill that it's not 1975 or 85 anymore. He forgets.
I agree. In an ideal world, he would be with the team, but this is a different NBA landscape. I mean, LeBron James is going to go to his kids' his college games when they're in town and stuff and miss games. So I don't know.
Speaking of basketball, Frank, let's switch gears just slightly. What do you make of the Big Five kind of trying to, reinvent itself and get back into a little prominence in the city? They added Drexel, so it's now the Big Six, even though it's still the Big Five. Villanova has lost 3 games to Penn, St. Joe's, and Drexel, which is kind of weird. They're 9-4 overall. What do you think of what's going on in Philadelphia hoops?
Well, here's where I'm going to sound like 1975. I think if you don't have the Palestra and you don't have double headers, it's not the Big Five to me. I don't know. A lot of people enjoyed the setup at the Wells Fargo, the triple header there this year, and I think the games were high quality games. But it's just different. I can't put my finger on it. I just can't work up that same enthusiasm for this new format. And the Palestra, I know the Wells Fargo Center works and it's a bigger arena, but maybe I'm just betraying my age again. But I just think it's a different animal now than it ever has been, and I can't muster any enthusiasm for it at all. Now the Big Five, I mean the teams themselves, I think St. Joe's is a better team this year. I think Dunphy's doing a great job at LaSalle. I think Temple is the one you're going to worry about, and they're given all this NIL nonsense. I think Temple was in a lot of trouble, athletically, and they're going to have to figure something out. But yeah, and Villanova seems to be, coming along. They're doing fine against everybody that's not situated in Philadelphia.
Hey, Frank, you want to feel younger? Here, this will do it.
Okay. That's my Tony Orlando image.
I was going to say Tony Orlando, circa 1980 from Frank Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, that was the first day at the Inquirer. That was the picture they took.
Love it.
Well, hey, Frank, you walked right into what I was going to ask you next. I know you followed Penn State football, covered a lot of college sports besides Big Five. We could talk about this for an hour, but give me a thumbnail of what's your take on this whole NIL and portal nonsense that's going on in college football, at least.
I don't recognize college sports anymore, and I have trouble mustering enthusiasm for it as well. I think in terms of the NIL, the players, I agree, there was some compensation needed, and the NCAA should have got a hold of this and set up some kind of guidelines as to how extensive these NIL payments could be. But now it's just a Wild West show. I mean, you're getting schools, the Texas schools, where they have, deep-pocketed boosters. They're just going to dominate. I just don't get it. somebody was saying that Brock Purdy's making $800,000 a year, and Arch Manning is making $2.1 million as a backup at Texas.
Never played it down yet.
Never played it down. Yeah. Between that and the transfer portal, you can't develop any knowledge or loyalty about a specific team, and the guys change. I don't know. I really sound like an old man now, but that's. I just my enthusiasm for college sports is dimming by the day.
Hey, Frank, speaking of enthusiasm, have you got any for the Flyers, who are playing much better than anybody expected this season?
Yeah, well, I'll confess that I haven't been to Wells Fargo. The only time I've been to Wells Fargo Center, I think, is with Disney on Ice with grandchildren or something. But I love Keith Jones. I always liked him a lot. When I did the story on Eric Lindros's the day he almost died, I remember Keith Jones was a tremendous help to me doing that story. And he's always been an upfront, stand-up guy, so I wish him all the success in the world. And it seems to me they got two really good players in Konechny and Couturier. I remember doing a story on Couturier. He's from this little town up in Quebec, and the stories about him growing up, and he's turned into a real superstar. Is that enough to carry them into the playoffs through the rest of the year? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not following hockey close enough to know that, but I certainly think they're a much better product to watch. And I give a lot of the credit to Tortorella too. I think his maybe hand is that kind of stern hand is what they needed to at least get things headed in the right direction again.
Hey, Frank, I have to throw this out to you about jumping back to the Phillies. Rob Thompson re-upped. 2 nice seasons. He's got the ship straight, so to say. What's your thoughts on Rob Thompson taking this team to win a World Series?
I like him. I'm not sure how skilled he is as a strategist or a game manager, inning game manager. I mean, he made a lot of moves this year that made you shake your heads, but the players certainly like him and respect him, and that's 90% of the battle. He seems to relate to them. He protects them. All the things the players want, and so I think in that sense he's the perfect fit for this team. As I said, there was a lot of strategic things he did this year that I questioned, but
that's why I raised the question.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of speaking of being old. Reminds me a lot of the Danny Ozark era.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure the players ever totally bought into Ozark. I think they always thought he was kind of a dope.
Well, hey, Frank, as we look back on the sports world in 2023, other than Taylor Swift dating Travis Kelce, what were the biggest sports stories of the year in your mind?
Whoa, you're gonna really trip me up here. Give me some examples.
You could do locally with like the Trey Turner thing, or the Eagles going to the Super Bowl last year, coming up short.
I mean, you can't. It's hard to go past the Eagles and the Phillies.
Yeah.
Going to the Super Bowl, going to the World Series. Well, going to the World Series last year, and this year. Was there anybody in Philadelphia that didn't expect them to be back once they went up 3-2 against Arizona and had the last 2 games at home? I mean,
yeah.
Talk about a letdown. Wow. Yeah. I mean, they seemed invincible at home, and then all of a sudden. But there's always that team like Arizona, that Phillies the year before, where a team that gets hot at the end of the year, and baseball's like that. You carry it in a long season. So I'd say those two, obviously, and are the two of the biggest stories in sports. And then again, all the peripheral things, the NIL and portal and college sports, and the money being spent and the increasing move towards streaming games in the NFL, and money being paid, salaries for guys like Ohtani. It's just you're moving away from the field itself and to the off the field events for the big stories, I think.
Well, Frank, before we let you go, Chet said he wanted to circle back and talk about where the Eagles were going to finish for 14-3, 2 games to go. Where are they going to go in the playoffs?
11-4 now.
Yeah, if they're 11-4 now, let's say they beat the Giants, and maybe let's say they beat Arizona. I think that Arizona will be a little tougher game than the Giants, but they finish 13-4. Let's say Dallas wins its last 2 games and wins the division. So the Eagles, what seed would they get at that point?
No, Eagles will win the division if they win their final 2 games.
Oh, they will. And
Yes.
I thought if they tied, well, Dallas that's right. They have that extra. Yeah, okay. Well, if they're a 2 seed, that probably ends up playing Tampa.
Whoever the 7th seed is, which is the worst of the wild card teams. So yeah, it could be Tampa, it could be Green Bay, Minnesota. We don't know yet.
Well, if they're playing like they did the last 4 weeks, they're gonna struggle whoever they play. But they can beat it. You know, they can beat anybody. They can beat anybody in the league on any given Sunday. I mean, they've got enough talent to just overwhelm you if they run the ball.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, I love that Swift. I think that was a great addition. He's a talented back. I just like to see him get the ball a little more on some of those, even on a screen, like Bill was mentioned. That would work out nicely.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, Frank, we are going to let you go again. Thanks as always for coming on, closing out the year for us. We always enjoy it. And Merry Christmas to you and your family, and Happy New Year, and enjoy your retirement.
All right. Same to you guys.
Thanks,
All
Frank.
right,
Take care.
Thanks.
All right. See you later.
All right. Hey, Chet, holidays are here. Gas prices started back up. Time for you to save some money with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yep, that is always good advice, Bill. Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive. And with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers, pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent in Westchester, Pennsylvania. That is Dave Lavoie at Allstate. Call Dave Lavoie, Allstate in Westchester, 610-430-0700. Once again, 610-430-0700.
Well, hey, Chet, holiday week, what's going on at the Rover? I'm sure they have big New Year's Eve plans over there.
Well, the Irish Rover gave all of their wonderful employees a few days off for Christmas, but they did reopen today with the usual great weekly traditions. That includes things like, well, dinner specials Thursday through Sunday, and yep, killer burger Thursdays. This week, in fact, they have a ballpark burger and a Cuban burger. And they have live music, too. They have always some good live music on the weekends, Saturday nights. This weekend, the tunes come courtesy Ty Kingsley. The Rover is located on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne. Now, you asked about New Year's. They will be closing at 7 p.m. on New Year's Eve. So get in there, celebrate early, and then you can either, go home and sit on the couch or go out somewhere else partying. But get what you need from the Rover by 7 p.m. on Sunday, New Year's Eve. The Irish Rover located on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can get all the details on all of what I just told you about on their website. That would be IrishRoverStationhouse.com.
Hi, football fans. This is Merrill Reese, and you're listening to Bill and Chet on Philly Pressbox Radio. It's good!
Hey, Chet, you know what else is good? 11-4. And don't let anybody tell you different. Hey, as we mentioned,
we're going to talk more about that in the second half of the show.
Yes, we are. And as we mentioned, the Flyers have a big week in front of them. 4 games coming up starting tomorrow. As they sit right now, they're in the 3rd spot in the Metropolitan Division with 40 points in 33 games. Who saw this coming? If they can come out of next week with maybe 5 or 6 of those 8 points, they'll be in pretty good shape.
I was just thinking about that the other day, the fact that they're playing so well. They finished last year with just 75 points, and I thought that if things went well this year, they might get up to, 80 or 82, because I figured, Couturier's back, Cam Atkinson back, so they'll win a few more games. Maybe the old hockey 500, 82 points over to 82 games. But with 40 points right now through 33 games, I got out the old calculator, Bill. That puts them on pace for 99.4 points, 99 to be precise. Can they keep that up? I don't know, maybe. They're certainly in almost every game. Even when they were losing 5-1 the other night, they came back and forced an overtime. They're doing much better this year in overtime and shootouts, which I know you don't like. They're getting solid goaltending most nights from Carter Hart and Sam Ersson. The defense playing certainly much better than last year overall. We will see what happens. It's a long season, and right now they're only at the 40% mark of the season.
Right. Well, and they need to stay healthy, obviously, for one thing,
Sure.
and hope that the grind doesn't get to them. As we know, Tortorella worked the heck out of them in camp. He works the heck out of them during the season, but they play hard every night. When's the last time we talked about the Flyers being down 5-1 in a game and even competing in that game?
Yeah.
It's been a long time, but this team really seems to put the effort in and don't quit on any night, it doesn't look like.
Yeah, I was so hoping they'd come back and win that game. Made it close, but couldn't quite get it done. Yeah, they're back in action Thursday night, so tough stretch coming up. Let's see what they do. Maybe the rest will make them even better.
Yep, hope so. There's, to me, nothing like Flyers hockey playoffs. I mean, it'd be good to have it back if we can get there from here.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years, so it will be a surprise and something fun this April, May, June, if they were able to get there.
That's right. All right. Hey, let's give a shout out to all the shows at the Edge of Philly Sports Network this week. The gang, as always, has all the bases covered. You can catch all the action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. We also have a Facebook page, too. You can also find our show on Philly Pressbox Radio YouTube channel. Help us out. Hit those subscribe, follow, like buttons. And as always, share it with your family and friends. We need more, Chet.
All right, guys, let's talk about Cherry Law Firm. If you get hurt at work in a motor vehicle accident, personal injury, or affected by criminal law, you got to call David R. Cherry of the Cherry Firm. Call 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your rights. Again, that number is 610-565-0300. That's 610-565-0300 or go to cherryinjurylaw.com. Let David R. Cherry fight for your right.
No, I had to get the lawyers on standby in case you said anything, scandalous or disparaging about Joel Embiid in our next segment.
It's coming. Here we go. Let's just cut to the chase. Sixers are 20-9. They're 3 games out of first. They also have a busy schedule this week for 4 games, beginning tonight in Orlando, then to Houston, then to Chicago, and then home against Chicago. Those 2 games, they're terrible. Big question is the fraud himself, Joel Embiid, going to be in the lineup? Or maybe he'll sit at home while his team's traveling for a week. Who knows with him? Or maybe
he's not in the lineup tonight.
Maybe he'll come back Friday night and score 50 because his ankle hurts.
You're killing me with this fraud stuff, Bill.
It is what it is.
It's not what it is. He's the reigning MVP, and he's playing even better this year than last. He twisted his ankle last Friday.
No problem.
Swelled up on Saturday. What the hell is he going to do, there to cheer his teammates on Monday night?
Yeah. That's what leaders do. Because I'll tell you what.
You can say rehab, trying to get healthy again.
You can say dinosaur this, dinosaur that. Teams are still built the same way. Teams are built with leaders.
It made sense.
Jason Kelce is a leader. Brandon Graham is a leader.
As Frank said, it's more important to get the guy healthy again and keep him healthy come May when the playoffs roll around. Let me show you something, Bill. Look at what Embiid is doing this year. I just slapped this together this morning. Last year, in 34 and a half minutes a game, he averaged 33.1 points. This year, in about the same minutes per game, a little less actually, he's averaging more, 35. He is also blocking more shots a little bit. Assists per game, he's at a career high 6. Rebounds, he's at 11.7, which is his second best overall in his career, and 1.5 rebounds more than last year. Look at the free throw percentage, up nearly 4 full percentage points. He's almost a 90% free throw shooter. The guy is playing as well as you could possibly expect from a big man. He is again the front runner for the MVP. You can say it doesn't matter. It's the regular season. I know that, but
You know what you can do?
Well.
Here's what you can do. For New Year's Eve, you can give him the MVP. Fantastic. Never question the guy on the court. What happened? Let's go back to the NBA Finals last year when the Sixers were eliminated, by the way, because somebody missed a game, I believe, but that's another story. What happened when Joker got out there to the finals and strapped the whole entire team on his shoulders because he is a leader? He's also a champion because he's a leader.
He's a good player.
Well, no kidding. And he's also a leader.
He's won a couple of MVPs too.
His shoulders, something that this guy is not capable of doing.
You don't know that because he's got a lot of career ahead of him. We hope that'll change. We hope that'll change this year. It's a different team now. They have a different coach. I think the coach is using him better. And the fact that they've been so far ahead in so many games, he's gotten more rest in fourth quarters of those blowout victories. If he's healthy this spring, and I hope he is, and I know with his track record, it's always a big if, but I think he's going to have a huge playoffs this coming spring. So I'm not giving up on him.
About the leopard don't change his spots, isn't that how it goes? Well, this leopard don't change his spots either. Wait and see.
All right. We shall see.
If it makes you feel better, go ahead and give him the MVP here on New Year's Eve.
It's not all about the MVP. I'm just saying he is playing very, very well this year, even better than last year. To me, the MVP is not that important. It might be to him. I know some people say that, but the guy is a beast. He is
his talent is not in question. His talent is not in question.
All right. Well, let's see what happens with all the other stuff in the spring when, as I said before, I know that they could go 70-12 and a lot of people wouldn't be impressed. It's going to be what happens in the first and second and hopefully third and fourth rounds of the playoffs. So I'll give you that. We'll talk more.
Write down show number 475 and we'll come back and we'll review.
You write it down and post it, and you can bring it up again in
475. April. Oh, it'll be out there because it'll be the news. All right, let's move on. What's going on with the best tailgaters in Philly? Bob Cavanaugh and the gang at Cavs Philly Tailgates.
Yes, sir. Cavs Philly Tailgates has been cooking up terrific catering business for more than 30 years. You got me all tongue-tied, Bill. They are known for their tailgate parties. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Philly Tailgate's Jack Daniels Great American Tailgate Party Contest. Also a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award. Cavs does corporate events and parties, too. Now, there's just one Eagles home tailgate party left this year. That is this Sunday. It'll start mid-morning, I think, 9:30 a.m. or thereabouts. Check the website for all of the details. That's before the Birds home finale against Jonathan Gannon's Arizona Cardinals. Order your tickets via the website, phillytailgates.com. Don't wait because they are going fast. Check the site, and if you have questions, you can email them at cavscatering@verizon.net. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. And you know by now, Cavs also works with Vince at Philly Sports Trip. They are the folks to use for all Eagles road games and more, including the season finale up at Giant Stadium. They still have some availability for that. And then, of course, they have hockey trips, Sixers trips, a couple of different spring training options. So we go down to Clearwater. You can go to London to watch the Phillies next June take on the Mets over in the UK. All the details for all of that and more at phillysportstrips.com.
All right. Well, hey, Chet, the Eagles, let's get to the Eagles. They've given us plenty to talk about again this week. 33-25 win against the Giants. They're now 11-4, by the way.
Yeah, 11-4, but you're not worried about the style points. And it's not just about style points. It's about bad habits, and they've gotten into a lot of them. Not protecting the ball well enough. Stupid penalties. And you know what, Bill? I'm not the only one saying this kind of stuff. This morning on the WIP morning show, Jason Kelsey was on there. And I think he agrees with me about all this. Here's Jason Kelsey.
Penalties and turnovers and things that continually hurt us, we're still happening. So we got to get these things fixed. We do. We got to get back on track. We can't play like that and expect to win, games down the road.
You hear that last part? You can't expect to win those kind of games down the road. He's talking about playoffs. You go into San Francisco and play like they've been playing the last few weeks, they got no shot.
Every week is a new week.
Okay.
By the way, I wanted to ask you, in the last 60 years or so that you've been watching football,
yeah,
when's the last time you saw two teammates run into each other on a kickoff return and fumble for a touchdown? You think that's going to happen again this week?
Boy, I sure hope not.
You think? I mean, be real. The interception to pick six, the receiver slipped. He fell down.
Moderate slip. But the pass right before that, Hurts almost got picked off, and it didn't happen. You had Reed Blankenship getting beat badly on that deep route by Shelton.
Be careful.
I know he's a safety. Somebody else might have missed an assignment.
Yeah.
We saw the end result.
Yeah.
Somebody made a mistake. Somebody screwed up. And there's little screw-ups like that every single game. We've talked about this before. The Eagles have not played anywhere near a perfect game yet this season. We are at week 17. It would be nice if they started doing that now.
Yeah, well, certainly. And you got to clean things up. Jason Kelsey's exactly right. He got another illegal procedure, but they never showed us what he did this time around. They never gave us the down the line look at that, so I don't know what that was about. But there are certainly things to clean up. The Dallas game, the fumbles were all three caused by Dallas guys making plays where the Eagles have to protect the football. No doubt there's things to clean up. But there's also just win your games. Just take care of your business, win your games. We know the teams that have the momentum going into the playoffs are the teams that are usually successful. Just win. Take care of your business, clean up your stuff, get to the dance, and then everybody's 0-0. Then it doesn't matter. Then play your best ball if that's what it takes.
Yeah, we were talking about the seeding, and it's weird that the Eagles may want to root for the Cowboys this weekend, because that would give them a better chance at the second seed rather than the third seed, because it would knock Detroit down a peg. So I can't really, in good conscience, root for the Cowboys, but it would kind of be nice to see them win this week and knock Detroit out of the running in my mind anyway, for the second seed. Of course, the Eagles got to do their part and win their final two games. Then they're at least the second seed.
Yeah, well, and I guess there's a possibility. I haven't looked at the
if the Niners lose one more game and the Eagles win both, Eagles get the first seed.
Right, but I believe there's a possibility, without looking at the bracket again, that the Eagles and the Lions could play each other. It would be in Detroit instead of being in Philly. So that number 2 seed is important.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
And I hate to say it, but Dallas does need to beat Detroit.
Yeah.
For the Eagles. I'm not going to root for them, but
I'm not going to say G.O. Cowboys, but
no.
Yeah, no. You get it.
But yeah, I mean, and to Frank's point, there's a lot of things that need to be cleaned up. And I saw an interview with Nick Sirianni the other day talking about the blitz packages and things like that. They're sending more than there are guys to block. So, and the thing about it is, to me, just as a casual fan watching the game, you almost know when it's coming. The Eagles have not responded to that very well. They just keep rolling Jalen out until he has to throw the ball to the sidelines or out of bounds. They need to develop some plays off that, but the only other way to stop that is to have a back stay in the block or a tight end to stay in the block, or both. Well, that takes away other weapons. So there's certainly things that are going to be corrected, need to be corrected. I'm a little curious I wish I knew the rest of the story of what was going on the sidelines. That was kind of cool.
Well, did you hear A.J. Brown, who said he didn't want to say anything bad the other day when they tried to talk to him? He did not want to talk to the reporters again today. So I don't know what's bugging him. Is he ticked off at Sirianni? Is he mad at Hurts for something? I mean, he is getting targeted quite often. What the hell is A.J. Brown's problem? And why are so many wide receivers divas, Bill? Can you tell me that?
Because they get paid tons of money and they all want to be Terrell Owens. That's all I got.
Oh, my God.
But, I mean, if you saw and I don't know why Devontae Smith was intervening in a conversation with the defense, but he obviously thought that he had something to offer. When the background of that picture is a very angry-looking A.J. Brown.
Yeah, I saw that.
So I don't know if it's play call situation. Who knows what it is? But, DeAndre Swift looked fantastic. feed the guy the ball a little bit. That's good. They spread the ball around. I heard Nick Sirianni say that he thought Jalen played probably his best game of the year.
Yeah, he did play pretty well, actually. So, I give Jalen credit for bouncing back and doing that. What kind of a reception do you think Jonathan Gannon, the Cardinals coach, is going to get at the Link this weekend?
His team stinks. His team stinks. I don't think it matters.
He was not a fan favorite, even when he was the Eagles' defensive coordinator. A lot of people complained about him. So I'm sure they'll give him a nice Philly welcome.
Well, it seems like maybe one of the worst jobs in this town right now is to be the coordinator on either side of the ball at this point. And it only makes it look worse when you have a guy like Shane Steichen, who was calling the plays last year. He leaves, he goes to a pretty bad Colts team, and he's got them turned around in a playoff spot with a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Who was the Eagles quarterback.
How about that?
So it makes it look all that much worse for the other guys.
Speaking of the Eagles, DC, it's still Sean Desai, but it's Matt Patricia making the defensive calls. I think the defense did look kind of better for the most part the last 2 weeks, a little bit each week. There were still some missed assignments, but all in all, I think they did definitely play better. So, maybe it was a wise move making this late season change.
Well, I think Shaq Leonard stepped up and played pretty well.
How about that?
They needed that sack. Yeah, they needed that from the linebacker position. The one thing that does, and Frank alluded to this as well, the thing that does concern me is the lack of pass rush. They're still rotating their 6 or 7 guys. They're just not getting there. And
they had 71 or whatever last year. This year they're on a pace for like 46, 47, something like that. So that's a big difference, and would love to see them pick that up over these final couple of weeks. Yeah, Kyler Murray will be a good test this week.
That's just what I was going to say. Kyler Murray they're going to have to be aware of him. Yeah. I don't think the Eagles should beat this team pretty good, but Kyler Murray he's an athlete. He can get loose, he can throw, he can run, and they better keep an eye on him.
I'm with you.
All right. Well, I guess it's prediction time, Chet. For those that don't know, Chet, Bob Vitrone Jr., booped to his friends, and I pick the winners. Sometimes we pick winners. A lot of times we pick losers. The NFC East game, we usually add 1 or 2. But Chet, how did we do last week, and what are the current standings through Week 16?
I am right now opening up the email from Boop that I forgot to print out, so I have it on my phone. Thank goodness. All right, standings. Here we go. We had a few different picks last weekend, but we all somehow ended up going 3-2 overall. So I continue to hold a 2-game lead over Boop. I'm 46-22. He is 44-24. You, Bill, remain 4 games back at 42-26. So your time is pretty much running out there, my friend.
Yeah, well, we'll see. That's all we can do, right?
Yep.
All right. So what about I tell you what, you should bet money on this whole margin of victory pool.
Oh, I know it.
I don't know how you managed to do that. But hey, let's go through this week's picks first.
Yes.
Then we'll come back to that. So we've added for week 17, we've added Sunday night's game between Green Bay at Minnesota. The Vikings are -2.5 on that one. Who they like?
All right, Packers at Vikings. Boop says Sunday night, these two could be playing for their playoff lives or for nothing at all. Boop picks the Vikings. I am going to load up on Green Bay on this one. I don't think the Vikings are that good. We don't know who their quarterback's going to be yet this weekend. I think Green Bay is going to not only cover the 2.5, I think they're going to win by a touchdown. Go Packers.
Well, I'm going to take Minnesota, but only because they're home.
Okay.
All right, NFC East, we have a big one Saturday night, as we said, Detroit at Dallas. Dallas -6 in this game. That's kind of interesting to me.
Well,
it's got to just be the home field thing.
Ooh, look at what Boop says. He says, yes, Virginia, the Lions are for real, and they are going to end Dallas's 15-game home winning streak. Boop is taking the Lions. I think Boop is drinking too many beers at Splits or something. I'm taking Dallas in this one. They're playing very well at home. Detroit is up and down. Their games are always iffy, it seems. I'm taking Dallas, and I think it's going to be even by 6 or more, so they're going to cover.
Well, I can tell you, I actually love Dan Campbell, and I love what he's doing in Detroit, and I'm really happy that they have won this. But I think going to Dallas is going to be a tough task, especially after Dallas getting beat up the last 2 weeks. Talk about having to right a ship. They need to right their ship, and no better way to do it than do it at home. So I'm taking Dallas in this one.
And as we said, that would help the Eagles in their effort to get the second seed and not have to play at Detroit if it came to that.
Right.
All right, next.
Rams visit the Giants on Sunday, 1 o'clock game. All the rest of the NFC East games are 1 o'clock this Sunday for odd. Rams are -6 in this game.
The Boopster says LA's only loss in its last 6 is in overtime to the steamrolling Ravens, it should say. This one could look like what it should have looked like at the Link on Monday. He's taking the Rams easily. I'm taking the Rams too. You can't pick the Giants.
No, absolutely. All right, Niners, they visit Washington. The Niners -13.5 in this.
Yeah, do we even have to discuss this one? Let's see what Boop says, though. This will be San Francisco's 5th game of the year in the Eastern time zone. They're 3-1 so far. Make it 4-1. He says Niners. I say Niners easily.
Yeah, but hey, well, we'll come back to this in just a second. Arizona comes to the Link to face the Eagles. The Eagles are -10.5. Seems like maybe like a little bit of a lot of points.
Yeah, well, you know what I feel about that. Boop says this one might end up with a 12-11 score or something, but the Birds will escape once again. He means the Eagles because Cardinals are birds. Also, Boop, yes, he's taking the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles, but I would not bet the game as far as the point spread because, as I said on Facebook or in a message to you, I would not take the Eagles to cover any spread these days. They're just too inconsistent.
I'm with you. All right, I'm taking the Eagles.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get to this margin
of
of victory pool standings. You should have bet money on this because I don't know how you've managed to do this every week.
I do have 2 losses, but that's a lot fewer than you guys. Yeah, I took the Eagles this past weekend, sweated it out a little bit in the 4th quarter, but I did win and got 8 more points. You guys both took the Broncos and lost. As I said to Boop and you in an email, I don't know how you could possibly go under 500 and lose 9 out of your 16 picks when you're only picking 1 game. But Boop said, hold my beer because he's done. He's 7-9 picking 1 game a week. Well, you're in second place anyway, Bill. Yeah, I have pretty much clinched this. I have decided that I have clinched the inaugural margin of victory pool title and the bragging rights because there's no way you're going to make up 148 points in 2 weeks, Bill. So I am the champion.
I hate to say that you are that, but just the fact that you were able to pick the margin of victory points every week, picking the winner.
Those early weeks, man, 28, 31, 19, 17, 17, 32 with that one Dallas win. Yeah. My God, this will never happen again. This is unprecedented.
You should have laid some money out there.
I wish. Anyway, this week, Boop says the Rams, and I am taking Baltimore over Miami. Hard to believe, but I have not yet taken the Ravens this season. That changes this weekend. So Boop's taking the Rams. I'm taking the Ravens.
And I'm taking the Cleveland Browns over the Jets.
That seems like a good pick. Browns, and Boop says Rams. Okay, there you go.
All right, I want to just throw this out here for 1 minute. I don't want to take up too much of our time, but what did you think of the Ravens dismantling of the 49ers the other night? The Ravens had the plan, stuck to it, played physical, got after Brock Purdy and took it to the 49ers.
You know what's funny? The front runner for the MVP this year has changed, I think, each of the last 5 weeks.
It changed in the middle of the game. Aikman and Buck changed it in the middle of the game.
Oh, my God. It's gone from Hurts to Purdy to Jackson now, obviously. So, Purdy was not looking good. What do you have, 4 picks?
Yeah.
So, the Ravens look like the best team in the league right now. But as you know, that could change this week. So we'll see. But, the 49ers are beatable. We know that. They've lost, 5 games this year? 4. So, 4. Anything's possible.
Yeah,
Ravens look good.
They're wanting to anoint them the champions last week, maybe not so much this week.
Yeah. We'd like to see them lose another one. Help the Eagles out.
Absolutely. Hey, we had another great guest tonight in Frank Fitzpatrick, who's coming to Philly Pressbox Radio to open 2024 next Wednesday.
Oh, gee, did I load his picture in here? Let's see. Doesn't look like I did. Oh, well, I don't have time to find it. But next week, Bill, we are going to have some fun. We haven't talked to this guy since last April somehow. He does a great job at the Inquirer covering the 76ers. And he also tries to put Eagles fans over the edge with his attempts at humor on Facebook. I'm talking, of course, about Inquirer 76ers beat writer Keith Pompey. You know that's going to be fun.
It is going to be a blast. We can start loading up. I'm going to start writing the zingers down now.
And it happens to be a few days before the Eagles and Giants play the regular season finale up at MetLife. So Keith will have a lot to say about the Sixers and the Eagles Giants, I'm sure.
There you go. Hey, one last thing we want to hit. Big bowl weekend in college football. Penn State meets Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl on Saturday at noon in Atlanta. Georgia and Florida State also play Saturday at 4 p.m. in the game of the two teams left out of the Final Four. Chet, guess what? Florida State players ain't playing. Almost the entire offense has opted out or transferred out. What do you make of this?
I guess it's not a surprise. They feel like they've been disrespected, so I understand that. But yeah, it is a bit of a mess. I can't get excited about Penn State playing in the Peach Bowl. But, I may check it out a little bit. I'll be visiting with my sister up in the Red Hill, Pennsylvania area. So I'm sure we'll have the game on. I'll check it out. I'm not overly excited about any of this. I will watch, of course, some of the two semifinal games. They're Monday, right? Both of them?
Yeah.
So, I'm not making any picks. Who are you picking in the two semifinal games?
I'm going to take Alabama. And I am going to take Washington.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Alabama and Washington. All right. So Michigan will not win it for the oft-suspended Jim Harbaugh.
No, I don't think so. We'll see.
Okay.
All right. Anything else before we wrap this thing up?
Oh, yeah. A couple of things. First of all, happy birthday to Cole Hamels. Secondly, Tommy Smothers died today. I was a big fan of the Smothers brothers.
I thought he was already passed.
I'm
surprised I saw that.
Just died yesterday. I knew they were still around. This, as we said, is our 475th show. It's also our final show of 2023. And what a year it was for us, Bill. I just jotted these names down an hour ago, right before the show. First-time guests that joined us this year included Angelo Cataldi, Mike Missinelli, Jason Lee from Channel 17 and Oldies XM Radio, Brad Hebner just a couple of weeks ago, Brooks Kubina, new Eagles reporter for The Athletic, Bob Angelo, who wrote that great book, Frank Close, Steve Lockman, your pal, Mickey Morandini back in January, a first-time visitor. A couple of the guys from the band that I love, Fat Mez, were on back in February. There were others, but man, what a year it's been for us, and we look forward to the new year and our 10th anniversary, our 500th show. So thank you, everybody, for joining us this year, and we have more and more coming your way in 2024.
And 52 of 52. That's a good record for 2023.
It's like Brad Lidge all over again, you know?
There you go. There you go. Do we win any World Series for that or anything like that?
No, but I'm hoping to get a nice prize for my margin of victory pool.
Oh, there you go. I'll work on that.
Yeah, thanks. Wrap it up, Bill.
All right, let's thank tonight's special guest, Frank Fitzpatrick, our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Cavs Philly Tailgate, PPCC 118 Raz Room, and David Boy of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA. For Jim Chet Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show. We'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, January 3rd at 7 p.m. By the way, Chet will be in the Atlanta office.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
You can see us live on Facebook or on our Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel. Listen on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans, and Happy New Year.
Let's do the